Hey, welcome back to Change the Odds, the podcast where marriage and family were not what?
Meant to be a game of chance.
Oh, my
Woohoo,
goodness.
we did it.
Well, we're getting into the holiday season. I'm taking things a bit more
like it.
serious.
I like-
I love this time of year.
We look festive.
Love
me and
this
you.
time of year.
Together, we are Christmas.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then
Scrooge over here.
Scrooge. There's Scrooge. Yeah, that
There's
actually
a-
makes
Brown.
a lot of.
is it symbolic? Is it metaphor? Is that what's going on
Oh yes. What's your favorite Christmas movie, Kev? What are you gonna do? A movie guy?
no.
You're not
No,
really
you
a movie
know-
guy.
you know
yeah,
that.
I'm
No.
asking the wrong guy here.
here?
That's in the
Yeah.
wrong
So, I
way.
mean, obviously, Jenny loves Christmas Vacation every year, and
Okay.
it bores me. I'm
Right.
like, whatever.
You don't
Let's
get
move
the
on.
humor.
No, not really. Not really. I don't. Yeah.
Stupid humor.
I feel like we need to start over because I'm very nervous about it being known out there that we're not going to. But that I don't like Christmas Vacation.
Oh.
That's a whole. I feel like I'm going to be judged.
Oh, really?
You will be, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Don't you
yeah.
think? Like,
No.
like there's a social pressure that you have to like this movie.
Kind of a cult classic.
What's interesting
what I'm learning.
is age demographic matters on this movie too, because the younger generation, like yourself,
Like me?
yes, young and hip, they don't know the movie.
All right.
Yeah.
So I want to know on the comments if you're watching on YouTube
Yeah.
or Apple, wherever you are, go to the comments. And if you hate Christmas Vacation, let me know.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be
hate.
alone.
Hate is a
Okay,
strong
yeah.
word, but
So in Canada, is that a thing or not?
Christmas Vacation
Yeah.
or movies in general.
The movie Christmas
joy
Vacation.
and the joy of Christmas. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
That's
That's our holiday in Canada.
I just built a playlist. You know, we got the kids at home. We got the young kids at home. So I built a playlist with roughly about 20 Christmas movies.
Oh, there you go.
Now it's going to take a lot of the stress out of the evenings of, can we watch something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Go to
gonna
the
go
list.
through
What
the
are we
list.
going to watch?
Yeah.
We got our list.
Brilliant. Look at you showing
yes,
it.
yes.
Initiation,
Thank you.
initiative.
Thank you.
Intention.
I was inspired
Wow.
by
Chapter 1 of Friends, Partners, and Lovers. Very well
yeah,
done.
Wow.
Very
I love
well
that
done.
chapter.
Always a plug.
I love that chapter. Oh, he pretends like
go.
he's read it. Okay. All right. What do we got today? All right. We're back into Fight Club.
We're fight clubbing.
But now it's Holiday Fight
Yes.
Club.
Yes.
I mean,
Holiday fight club.
not that really happens very much.
not
We need
not
like
your-
a jingle bell.
yeah, instead of a ding ding
Yeah,
ding, it's
yeah.
a
Oh,
ring
there
ring
you
ring.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Look at that.
Okay,
Blaine's firing on all
I'm going
cylinders.
here.
know.
Bringing the
He's had
energy. Holiday
Coffees.
season.
Okay, I got a letter from the couple.
Okay, the couple.
You ready? This is going to be a doozy. Okay. Dear Change the Odds, my husband and I love each other, but every December we hit the same wall. We've been married for 5 years. Aw, babies. And each Christmas turns into a tug of war with our families. The biggest struggle is with my in-laws. His mom expects us at her house all day on Christmas every year. If we suggest splitting the day or visiting my family, she gets quiet and hurt. My husband feels guilty and insists we should just keep the peace by going along. Meanwhile, my own parents
I feel
feel...
like there was some judgment in that reading.
I just relate.
I'm sorry.
Meanwhile, my own parents feel slighted that we barely see them. I end up feeling like I'm competing with his mother for his time and loyalty. It's reached the point where I'm starting to dread the holidays. Feel ya, girl. To make things harder, when we're with his family, I often feel disrespected. His mom has a habit of making little comments about how I set up our home or raise our kids. My husband swears she means well and tells me not to take it personally, but it hurts, and I feel he doesn't stand up for me. Instead of enjoying Christmas as a couple, we end up arguing in the car on the way home from his parents. He accuses me of overreacting to his family, and I accuse him of not having my back. By New Year's, we're barely speaking.
Yeah.
We are exhausted and heartsick. We know this isn't how we should be handling family or each other. We don't want to ruin another Christmas with the same fight. Sincerely, torn between families.
There we
Between
go.
two It's fun that, the Christmas season is supposed to be all about joy, but it is
It's
misery. It can be.
It can
It can
be.
be.
It doesn't have
Disney.
to be
Yeah, no.
misery, but it can. It's the
It's like going to Disney with
it's
your
the
kids.
most miserable
Happiest
time of
place
the year.
on earth, and everyone's angry
Everyone's
there.
stressed, yeah.
Well, and I do think there's a lot of correlation between that. I think one, the expectations. So there are
Right.
these expectations in which just people think, oh, this is supposed to be the best time of year, so we shouldn't have any stress. So whenever
Yeah.
they do, they feel like they must be doing it wrong. But then you just have all the family dynamics that are at
Totally.
play.
Yeah.
That's what happens at Disney. That's now what's going to, I assume, I've never
Yeah.
been. But that's
What?
also,
You've never been?
no.
You never been Christmas vacation.
Hey,
Disneyland.
who is this guy? The fun sucker.
2026
of
is a
life.
big year for Kevin.
We're taking him to Disney.
Oh.
Let's take the podcast.
And we're going to watch Christmas Vacation
Let's
with you.
take the podcast on
Oh,
the road
I've watched
to Disney.
Christmas Vacation.
Well,
What
you're
if
going
yes,
to enjoy
let's
it.
do that.
Let's do that.
Hey, if anybody from Disney's watching, we'd love
We'd love a
a sponsorship. All right, so let's talk. We got two issues going on here. We might only have time to deal with one. of the two. But I definitely want to come back at a later time to deal with the second. And the second is the sense in the letter of the criticism.
Okay.
So that now is what feels like the mother-in-law is not loving and supportive of the daughter-in-law, and the husband is trying to navigate that and manage all that. So I think that's an important element. If we get to it, that'd be great. I wouldn't be surprised if time-wise we don't, because we have this first issue that the writer presents in this, and that is, where do you spend time during the holidays, and how do you navigate that in a proper way? And then beyond that, the emotions that are on the other side of what's going on. All right, so let's look at a couple possible personality things that are taking place here. Doesn't mean it's always necessarily the case, but think about this. Whenever we think about our fight club, right? How do we navigate this? The first thing we want to start looking at is, what are the attachment patterns that we bring in, right? So we call those our love styles. That's how we interact with love. What are the personality things that we bring in? We call those our lead styles. This is just where our energy just naturally begins to flow. And then we look at how those begin to play off of each other. What's the dynamic that's there? So all of that is the autopilot by which we operate in, and these issues just begin to trigger those things. And so a couple possible kind of lead styles that could be happening here. You could have the concept, whenever it talks about he just wants to keep the peace and that kind of thing. Adrian, this reminds me a lot of your kind of personality, of this agency dyadic. So he's keenly aware of what his wife feels, of what his mom feels, of what he feels, and the tension within all that can be overwhelming to him.
Yeah.
So he just wants to keep the peace, whatever it actually is. Now, so if he's coming in with that agency dyadic kind of viewpoint, it wouldn't surprise me at all if she might be coming in with this bonding outward. So she is also keenly aware of all relationships of what's taking place, but a little bit more of an outward perspective. So this would be like an Enneagram 2 and an Enneagram 9, that they're coming in now and having these different feelings. And she now in this relationship could feel like her work isn't being appreciated. She's doing all this stuff, trying to make sure everybody's happy, and he's not valuing that, and so she now feels that, and then he just feels this tension of what's going on in the midst of the relationship, and so she's wanting connection. That's the bonding aspect. She wants connection, and yet he's more concerned about keeping the peace of everybody else and not the actual kind of connection that's actually there. Do y'all sense any of that?
Yeah. I mean, I always just analyze my own life through these fights and all these things like that, because it's so relatable. But it's like going into keeping peace, and she's doing the opposite. Or no, she's keeping the peace.
No, he is.
He is, right.
He is.
Yeah.
She's looking for a relationship, because notice what she said in there is, I want to be with my family too.
Right.
Yeah.
So notice the relational bonding that she desires,
Yeah.
and he's not really paying attention to that.
Yeah.
He's much more on just what's going to keep everybody generally happy. So she is now feeling his apathy as a rejection for her desire for connection.
Right. Any thoughts?
Whoa. Whoa, I think
This is funny because the roles are reversed. I'm the keep the peace, let's make everyone happy, and you're like, let's have the best time. Let's not see what else is going on in the room.
let's live in denial of all the tension.
Yeah, or
that's
he's just
there.
like, he's in the moment. He's very in the moment. We're going to make the best of this moment.
So agency outward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really about the
That's where I'm
experience that
at.
you're having, and then all the things that are happening. It's
all good.
Could be missing some of the relational dynamics.
Yeah.
Totally.
I feel the tension.
Yes.
Right.
We call that the under the table experience, right? You're viewing what's happening around the
is
table,
great.
at the table.
They're having
Adrian
it
is
great.
keenly aware.
She's dying
of
inside.
Yeah.
the fists that are underneath the table that are clenching in this moment.
Kicking him.
Yes,
Look
the
alive.
kicking. No, that's exactly
what I'm
right.
seeing.
No, that's
Yeah.
exactly
Right.
right.
So was he like avoiding at all, or like the unknowingness, or
It sure sounds like it. It sounds like if we're looking at it from right, so love styles and attachment approach here, it sounds like he's going to be a little bit more avoidant, and she could be a little bit more anxious. Now it could be what's going on here is he might be anxiously attached to his mom, and so he is now trying to manage her emotions and her feelings. So he could actually have somewhat of a secure attachment with his spouse, but is anxiously attached with his mom.
Yeah.
And can navigate that well generally, but in a moment of stress, he then goes down that more non-secure pathway to where he's now protecting the one he's anxiously attached to at the expense of the one he's actually securely attached to.
It's interesting too, because when she says like we don't or we'll fight until New Year's. So it's like, this is an ongoing thing. This is it's seemingly a year after year after year, and it's only going to build if you don't solve some of this.
Right?
Well, you would almost feel like, I could be wrong, but you can almost get the sense of like an earthquake where you have these two plates that are pressing against each other throughout the year, and they're just slowly starting to press, and then all of a sudden, as the holidays are coming, you can feel the fractures about to happen. The earthquake is now going to take place. And what if you're not careful about this, here's what happens is it becomes your pattern so that your body begins to prepare for what's about to take place, which actually causes it to take place even more. And so this is one of these reasons, the earlier, and I love this 5 years in, this is not surprising at all.
No.
5 years in, all right, this is the time to deal with this.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you can learn to deal with this now, think about how many Christmases and Thanksgivings do you have in front of you, and how much calmer it can actually be. There is one personality switch we could make here, and that is we could easily put Jenny and I into this role. So think about Jenny now with an agency inward kind of mindset, like an Enneagram 1. I'm certainty dyadic, so more an Enneagram 6. Right, so those two things could be coming in. So it could be like if this were Jenny, I don't think it is. If this were Jenny writing this letter, it is, man, I want to have all these experiences. I want to do these things. I want to experience Christmas the way I'm supposed to experience Christmas. I hope everybody else does as well. I'm doing all the work to make everything right, and I'm over here now a little bit too concerned, predicting possible tension. And having a great sense of all the relationships that are going on, much like Adrian would have, then I'm like, ooh, let's not do what you want here, because that might cause a little bit of tension. I'm uncomfortable with that. And then especially if you have an either non-secure pathway that's going on, I'm not going to be able to handle that tension in a proper way. So I'm going to try to prevent it from happening.
Go ahead.
Well, because I feel the same way. I would rather prevent the tension. Now, if tension arises, is that okay?
Yes.
And
yes.
Is it okay? Like, I don't even know how to sit in tension.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great thing. That's a great awareness of yourself. I love that. And so now it's time to start recognizing, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so think about what we've talked about before of, again, if we begin to see all 9 of these pathways of personality, you can use the Enneagram, you can use something else as tools. Now, what you could begin to do is to say, all right, as an agency dyadic, as an Enneagram 9, man, I have this great skill of recognizing of that dyadic viewpoint. I can see what everybody else is going on. I'm keenly aware of myself as well. Now, however, a 9 doesn't sit well in tension. So when tension arises, my 9-ness is going to try to piece everything, right? Sometimes I don't need to do that. What would it look like now to leverage a little bit more of a 4 and to go, all right, what does this look like? And man, to have some mourning of the brokenness of, man, it's sad that this tension is happening, but you can actually feel it. You're going to upregulate it a little bit instead of shifting into
or
peace.
Avoiding.
or avoiding. Or even the idea of being able to recognize, what is it about this tension that bothers me? It makes me angry. There's actually a frustration that's underneath that, and that's okay to deal with the frustration that's there. That's a beautiful thing to begin to train yourself whenever you feel it, to recognize, all right, I tend not to do well with this.
Yep.
What would it look like? Literally, you get the image of, I'm going to sit in it.
Ugh, gives me anxiety thinking about it.
But to do it in short spurts.
Yeah.
That maybe you could even have a chair in your house. And all right, that's the chair. I'm going to go sit in this for a moment. And I'm literally going to walk over and sit down and begin to process what's going on. My heart rate might begin to rise a little bit. Again, let's go back to our episode on the window of tolerance. You're going to stretch your window of tolerance here a little bit by sitting in
working
this
out the muscle.
so that whenever you experience it, you're a little bit better prepared instead of just training yourself to run in some way.
I love that. And I think it's great. I also am curious about, we don't answer this question, but like, there's going to be so much stress moving into the holiday season, even before they get there. But if there is a secure attachment between husband and wife, and they can start to dialogue about what we're about to go into, because I know for us, these good seasons that we're in, we get to now talk about an upcoming thing or an upcoming idea of work or whatever. And it's stressful, yes, but because we're able to have a secure attachment of honesty and like, no, are you okay? No, I'm stressed. Oh, why are you stressed? Let's talk about it, because it's a safe place to build some actual
And practically, it's like we deal with this because when we go home for holidays, we have both our
Yeah,
families
this
in the
is-
same town.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Oh,
we
yeah.
have to split time,
Yeah.
and it's hard to figure out.
And the irony is, everyone wants to be with everyone. Everyone wants to have fun.
Yeah.
They all love each other and us and all the things. And then it's like, there's just not enough, right?
Yeah.
And then you have made a question or a point of like, what's the expectations? The question before we even get into this that I have, that I think you're the expert, you've got great wisdom. It's like, before you get married, 3 years into marriage, what is the best strategy to like dialogue about what your expectations are about Christmas, about, so you create this secure attachment to know I'm going into a war and I know the rules of the war,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, even, I mean, just last month we taught our premarital class here that we do, 3 or 4 times a year. And one of the things that we talk about is, what does Christmas mean to you? Mm-hmm. Christmas Eve. I'm going to say Christmas Eve. You both jot down what that means to you. And then you begin to compare and recognize, oh, you come in with different expectations.
yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, one of the fights that we'll get to hopefully this month is they were talking about how his family's small and quiet. My
Yes.
family's huge and fun.
Yeah.
And the expectation is his family should be more like mine. Well, is it possible that he's stressed out at your house?
Right.
Because it's
Right.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so even to recognize, so think about this. Jenny's family, again, the very first holiday we ever spent together was Thanksgiving. And we went to her place, and they rent out the community center.
Yeah.
And there's 80 to 100
No.
people that are there that are
Stop it.
they're all family. They're all family.
For what holiday?
For that, this was Thanksgiving. They
I
do the same
love
thing
it.
for Christmas.
Okay. Oh
so literally, I show up. Right, we're in rural Oklahoma. I'm the city boy. Right, and so I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to talk to these guys? It's hunting season. I don't.
You don't really.
Right, I can't. I mean, look at these hands. They've done nothing. So
They are
my
very nice.
Good
thought
putter,
was,
though.
here's my plan. So I'm pretty good generally with an elderly woman crowd. Right, those are my people. Right,
Yeah.
those
I
are my
can see
people.
that,
I
yeah.
love them. They love me.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's my plan going in. Here's what I'm going to do to avoid the conversation about hunting and all that. I'm going to go into the kitchen and I'm going to serve. Right.
Oh.
And so I went in the kitchen where we talked about hunting.
No.
So literally, so we go to that experience, 80, 100 people, right? The chaos that's there. We leave there to then go to my mom's side of the family. And so the first family experience my Jenny that Jenny really had for Thanksgiving was Thanksgiving night. I think there were 9 of us around the very formal dining room, as quiet as could be, only one person talking at a time. So think about that contrast.
Wild.
Where
Both
those are the
sound kind of
expectations. Yeah, Adrian doesn't want either one of them.
No.
But Blaine, I think to make your point is
Yeah.
early on as you're dating, as you're engaged, as you first get married, let's talk about, hey, what were the Christmases
Yeah.
like growing up? What was your experience? And then to begin to recognize, hey, these are going to be different.
Yeah.
Which do we value, and
Yeah.
what do we? How do we want to
Yeah.
spend time in both of them?
Because the person that's trying to be a peacemaker or everybody happy and that person typically just wants to know what's the parameters. You have to, as a spouse, you have to figure out how you're the first team
Yeah.
and you're going into combat together.
Yeah.
Because in your scenario, I think if Jenny knows that this is going to be anxiety filled for you, she can protect you
Yes.
in the best way, especially if it's her family.
Yep.
And then vice versa of like,
Vice versa.
vice versa?
You always say vice, but it's vice versa,
Vice?
right? Vice versa.
Okay.
What is it?
I think it's vice versa, but
Vice?
yeah, he did say vice versa.
He's always said
Vice
it.
versa.
He's making it more-
Makes it Italian.
I like to
Sorry.
go back to the origin.
Yeah.
Origin.
Okay.
Hey, if you're watching right now on YouTube,
Is
comment:
it- yeah.
is Blaine an idiot, or is
Is it vice
is
versa?
he actually right? And Adrian are over here judging him.
Maybe.
For
Thumbs up for idiot.
Okay,
Heart
sorry.
for
Sorry.
no, yeah, but anyway, just to know, I think that's a cool strategy of
Yeah.
like attacking it together.
Yeah.
Because as that person's trying to make sure everyone's happy, and the secure attachment suddenly is not so secure, it's like, dude, you're gonna ruin all the
Well,
fun.
Yeah, and there's no worse feeling than going into a family gathering and feeling alone when it's not
Yes.
your family,
Yeah.
and feeling like I
Yeah.
feel lost
They,
in this scenario.
to your point of not hunting, our family talks sports. Adrian was sitting at the
Oh,
table
yeah.
one night and we're just talking. She's like, you guys are truly talking in another language.
Yes.
I don't know what you're saying.
I zone out.
And
all the
that's,
time.
but it's like, you know, what's going on? Why aren't you talking? I don't know what you're
What am I
saying.
supposed to talk about? Yeah.
But
Another
if the
language.
husband or the spouse knows that and can bring her along into some of that, but she knows what she's going into and the family knows what they're bringing in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I think to watch out for your spouse.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the other scenario.
Yeah.
But Blaine, I think you also point out, if we're going to kind of begin to diagnose some problems that
Yeah.
are going on
Yeah.
here, you point out the first one that I think is very obvious. And it is this idea of they're not tackling this problem together.
I love it.
That they're coming at it individually.
Yeah.
And literally, here's what happens. Whenever we come at problems individually and not as a couple, eventually the problem becomes our spouse, not
Yes.
the actual issue.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Why
so
aren't you doing this?
What they need to do at this moment is literally, let's get on the same side of the table, point at the issue over there, and go, how are we going to come after that? A second issue that we can clearly see here is he is mistaking avoidance for peace.
Yes.
So the outcome that he wants,
Right.
which is peace, his actions to get that are preventing that.
Yeah.
So he thinks, oh, if we can just keep things the way they are, everything will be peaceful. And it's actually creating this tension primarily for his wife, but he's experiencing that as well. So it's an interesting thing here. And that we see this in non-secure attachment, that what you desire, the actions that you're taking to get that outcome are actually preventing that very outcome. If he would actually lean into this,
Yeah.
he would end up getting the peace that he actually wants. So don't forget this whenever we talk about love styles. With an anxious attachment, you need to stop reaching as much. With an avoidant attachment, you need to lean in when you're tempted to lean out.
Yeah.
And so here, he needs to lean into a conversation that he tends to be running from.
Right.
And that will get the outcome that he wants. But there's actually a bigger issue here at play that I don't know if y'all have seen this or not. Here's what's happening in this moment. There is this triangulation that's happening. So there's a triangle that's taking place at this moment, right? and it's a problem because this primarily is not supposed to be an issue involving a triangle. This is an issue for a dyad, a couple.
One-on-one.
Two people
Yeah.
are involved, a husband and a wife.
Okay.
But notice what's happening here. Mom's involved, right? And so this is a very common scenario that we see. It's not just with in-laws by any means. It's not just the typical mother-in-law is the picture that many people get.
Sure.
But there's a big term that I want us to begin to recognize, and maybe you can come up with a different phrase that's a little bit better. But it is this idea of triangulation. Triangulation is whenever let's start with a couple, then we can look at this in other relationships. Triangulation is when a wife and a husband, rather than dealing with the issue between them, they allow the uncomfortableness or the anxiety to let them bite to a temptation of we're going to use somebody else to navigate this. So instead of, hey, I'm going to have a conversation with Jenny about this, it's going to be tense, but we're going to lean into it. This is really about me and her. Instead of doing that, I can be like, hey, Silas, go tell your mother what's going on.
Ooh.
Or I'll lean in and begin to value my mom's feelings over Jenny in the moment. And the next thing you know, you bring into the dyad relationship, you bring into the husband and wife this third party that is now having an influence that they actually shouldn't begin to have. And now you literally have a triangle.
Right.
Where instead of dealing with each other, there's this third party that's impacting what's going on. And this now can create some very toxic situations. So triangulation is something every couple needs to be aware of. Have you ever heard of that phrase?
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Have you experienced it?
Yes.
Yeah. Very familiar with it.
Yeah. Different than, I mean, I don't want to, a counselor, third party.
So it's interesting because a counselor has to work very hard not to become this.
Okay.
So in a healthy counseling situation, and the counselor being very skilled, each party will attempt to triangulate the counselor.
Right.
Because one way to look at this is if I can get the counselor on my side.
Yes.
So some people go to counseling with the hope of triangulation.
Yeah.
In that I'm going to go and the counselor is going to tell my spouse what they're doing wrong. Well, what you're trying to do is to get the counselor on your side. Now that's an unhealthy
against
relationship.
one.
Counselors are very skilled to prevent you from doing what you want because that's not the ultimate the ultimate goal. But yeah, we can do it with a counselor. We can do, we see it within obviously parents are a very common thing where a spouse aligns with their parent rather than their partner. That you can do this with kids very easily. The example I just gave, instead of a couple now navigating their issues, it literally becomes, hey, go tell your father this, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like dinner's ready, go tell your father.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, unless you're doing that because you don't want to go talk to him.
Right.
Well, now what are you doing? You're using the child to navigate the anxiety. of what is actually taking place.
Yeah.
This happens in workplaces
Yeah,
all the
that's
time,
where-
in which you can now try to get a boss to triangulate in what's going on. How often have you heard this? How often have you gone to your boss and said, hey, all these people are saying,
Yes. Right.
okay, so instead
Right.
of dealing with the issue directly,
Right.
you're trying to triangulate other people in to get them to make the issue look like it's bigger than it actually is,
Yeah.
because you can't confront the issue for what's actually going on. Triangulation actually keeps us from solving problems and from doing what we want. So anytime you get this idea of, hey, can you go talk to them for me? That's a sign of triangulation is happening. Whenever it becomes the idea of their feelings matter more and they're impacting what's going on between us, that's a matter of triangulation as well. And so let's look at what's happening in that moment. So an avoidant partner oftentimes will try to triangulate because they're looking for calm,
Right.
for escape. Right. So how do I keep this peaceful? So literally in this letter, it's, hey, mom, mom's doing this. So I'm going to defer to her in order to keep peace. I'm going to triangulate. I'm not going to show, hey, me and mom have 2 votes. You have 1. That's going to keep the peace. Right. And we're going to be good. What an anxious partner tends to look for is either relief or validation. So it then becomes, hey, I want the counselor. Let's go to counseling so that the counselor can tell you what you're doing wrong. So now that validates how I'm actually right. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, but in part, we're actually inviting people to do this. This person writes the letter primarily because they want us to tell their spouse how wrong they are.
Right.
So
we
we're
are
in a
now.
triangle.
The triangle is in the triangle. Oh my gosh! There's layers.
Layers.
In part, that is kind of going on to someone,
Yeah.
but all of it's about regulating an anxiety
Okay.
that the couple themselves are now unwilling to actually deal with. So here's something I want us to think about, and then we'll get back to the letter. In that we need to learn within our own relationships not to triangulate.
Right.
And so what does that look like? Well, first of all, the language that you now have is going to be useful. You're going to start seeing this
No
far
doubt.
more.
Yes.
You already see it, but now you
Yeah.
have language for it.
Yes.
You're going to be able to point at your friends and go, oh my goodness, look.
Just like when Adrian her window of tolerance shrinks at home and the family fights, I can tell the kids and her, her window's now
Hey, kids, be careful.
kids, we're in a triangulation.
Can you say it?
What?
Vice versa.
It is vice versa.
So we want to be careful about that. So let's name it, and then whenever we begin to see it within ourselves, let's return as a couple, and basically try to exclude the third party.
Right.
And let's come back together and literally let's sit on the same side of the table. Let's look at the problem that's over there and go, how can we attack this together?
Yeah.
Rather than you're on that side, I'm on this side. Who can I get on my side to help this, or who can we navigate?
Can I stop us there?
Please.
Because I think it's a massive point. How do you do that? When you see a scenario and you're trying to get someone else on your side, the 2 of you clearly are not seeing it the same way. What is the first step for someone struggling to start to, I'm assuming there's a little bit of humbleness and humility that has to happen, but how do we?
Let's sit down at the table together. Let's scoot our chairs closer together than what we normally would. Let's not be opposing each other. Let's physically get side by side. Let's get a sheet of paper and let's write about everything we have in common about this issue.
Yeah. Ooh.
So don't
Common.
start with the differences.
Right. Start with the
Instead, start with what do we have in common? Let's go with this letter.
Yeah.
Right. What do we have in common?
Yeah.
We both want a happy Christmas.
Right.
We both want we want to connect with our families.
great.
We want to connect with each other. We want in the future. We want to start setting traditions now at 5 years in. That 20 years from now, we can. Some of the things that we're doing are the same. I don't know if there's kids involved here, but what kind of household and Christmas party and celebration do we want our kids to experience in the years? Let's begin by everything that we share.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens: we tend to start with differences, and the moment we start with a difference, then that separates you from me, and now it's who's right and who's wrong. But whenever we start conversations with similarities, hey, what do we share here? Okay, then once we actually get to a difference, that is one difference in the list of 100 things we already have in common.
Yeah.
Well, suddenly that difference isn't that big of a deal. And so let's start writing down what are the shared values that we have.
I love that.
And then from that, then all right, how can we begin to meet those? And how, instead of it being either or, either you can be happy or I can be happy, those are only options. No. What's a both and look like?
Right.
How can we both experience what do we want? What would it take for you to experience a happy Christmas with your family? Here's what I want from my family. Here's what you want from your family. It's never going to be perfect, but I bet you we can do a lot.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, that's
and I
really
think
good.
about the prehab, like you said before, writing down your expectations to avoid this step, but it's never too late when you're in the fight and then in the season. And it's like, hey, when October had hit or November had hit, Christmas is coming. We know it's coming. Let's write out what we dream about having a great Christmas, united as a couple, and then we'll go after it together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's get back. A couple things to avoid. We want to name what's actually going on. Don't get caught up into it without language. We want to return as a couple. So let's exclude the third party for a minute. Let's begin to set true boundaries around influence. We'll get to that in just a moment with some stay in your lane concepts, but we got to own what belongs to us and not allow somebody else to say what's going on. And then let's make sure that we're asking even the right questions. Again, if we're sitting on the same side of the table and we start with what we have in common, we're going to move beyond the question of who's right, because a lot of the questions we get sent in, and we want you to send in that question.
Yeah.
That way we can correct you. But the issue is not who's right.
Right.
It's what do we want for our family?
Right.
How are we going to move forward now? So I think this is an important part here, that here's what's really going on. This isn't just about his mom. This truly is about a triangle that's taking place. And whenever triangulation happens, it's when a couple can't really handle the tension that's between them. So what they do is they bring a third party into it. And so in this case, it's his mother. It doesn't have to be. Don't get caught up by the gender. It could be a father, it could be a child, it could be anybody else. But he uses her expectations to avoid his wife's disappointment. And then she uses her frustration to force him to choose of what's actually going on. But every time you pull somebody else into the middle, you lose the intimacy that you actually want, because the third party cannot be a part of the intimate relationship of what is actually taking place. So the way out of a triangle is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Then that is, you've got to walk back toward each other, talk directly, set boundaries. You can't have unity if you're constantly outsourcing your piece to somebody else or expecting somebody else to even navigate your anxiety. Instead, when two people are willing to actually sit in the tension together, the next thing you know, they can navigate that, and then they can go out and deal with the other party. So let's talk about this from a stay in your lane kind of concept, because I really do think that's the answer here. It's more than just a book plug.
It always is.
You know, Adrian, you know where Stay in Lane is available. Where all fine books are sold, including on Amazon.
I wasn't wondering, but thanks.
What? We have too many copies.
Yes, well, I think you've heard it too much, right? So let's get back. Stay in your lane. What's mine? What's theirs? What's God's? So in this case, what's mine really could also be what's ours. So as a couple, what is it that we actually hold on to? So think about this. What do they hold on to? Where they spend their holidays, how they divide their time, the rhythms that begin to work for them. What's happened here, however, is now they're allowing mom too much of a say in the decisions they're making. As a matter of fact, they might be blaming mom and not recognizing they're the ones actually making the decision. Mom's not making the decision. They're making the decision. It's this just that they're outsourcing this to mom. And so that's putting her in an unfortunate situation, unfair. And then it's stripping them of their own autonomy, their agency of what's going on, and can be really frustrating. So what's theirs? In this case, the what's theirs question is, what's mom's?
Right.
Her own emotions.
Right.
The size, the hurt. Here's one thing I read, I see all the time. I don't know if it's in this letter or not. Doesn't the mom have a right to be sad?
Sure.
Yeah, totally.
That Christmas is different, that my child's not going to be there, that the family isn't going to. Doesn't she have a right to be disappointed?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, you can validate that. But what you don't want to do is now try to manage it or think it's your responsibility. Or even to think that it's wrong. Whenever I do a wedding, I stand in front of the couple and I talk to the couple, especially if it's a young couple. I talk about how excited they are and how joy-filled and they can't wait. And man, it's exactly the way it's supposed to be. And then I say, but your parents right now are just as happy as you are, and they're heartbroken at the same time.
Right.
Because things are changing. And they have you can actually hold two things at the exact same time. You can hold joy and grief at the exact same time. And that's what your parents are doing at this very moment. Well, okay, in this situation, to look at mom and to say, hey, man, I'm sorry. This has to be very difficult. And to give space now for her grief and not to shame her in it,
Yes.
but also not to feel like you have to manage it.
Yes.
Because
That's
that's
the
what
hard
happens
part.
a lot of times. That belongs to her.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't belong to me.
Yeah. And then especially as the peacemaker, you're trying to guess how to solve that problem. And it's a problem you can't solve.
It's not yours.
No,
It's not yours. And trying to solve it will create the very outcomes you're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That I had a thought too, where it's like biblically, it's like honor your father and mother. That's a command. But then also it also says get married and leave your father
yes.
and mother. And there's this tension
Yeah.
of like, how do you live in that with choosing your spouse but still honoring your parents? I don't know. It
That's a
just
great
feels
question.
really
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. And to recognize the tension that's within that.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think sometimes we can even begin to ask questions of, you have to navigate this carefully. It depends on your relationship, but it wouldn't be if you're close enough with your in-laws
Right.
to even ask this question. Hey, when you and Dave got married, what was it like with Dave's parents? Was that ever hard? Did you ever feel a tension because here's the thing. We love you and we want to spend time with you, but I love my parents too and we want to spend time with them. And sometimes we really feel torn and we feel like we're letting both of you down, right? To begin to reveal your heart. Now, you can't allow them to come in and manipulate that or anything like that. But to begin to ask their experience, I think can be a positive thing.
So you need to be strong enough and secure enough in yourself. When you're talking about Adrian, go sit in the chair in the tension, right? Sit in the tension, learn how to kind of develop that muscle. As a spouse, you need to now enter the tension with your spouse to be secure enough to live in the tension, to that that you're unified in going into more tension.
Yeah.
I'm assuming there, instead of this triangle, it's not, if you're one versus one as a couple versus a couple, you don't want to overpower that person. I'm assuming we also want a one-on-one connection with, let's say, the mother-in-law in this scenario of son to mom, mother, daughter-in-law to mother-in-law as a secure.
So
it's not like couple versus
no,
the other person.
Never
right?
versus. No.
Right.
Now we want to have a unified front.
Yeah.
So it can't be a situation here that let's say the couple gets together, they have this discussion. It can't be a situation now where the son goes to his mom and goes, "Hey, Amy's decided we need to spend Christmas this way."
Throws her under the bus.
No, yeah, that can't. That's triangulation.
Yeah,
as well.
same thing.
Now mom and I are blaming my wife.
Yeah.
To ease the tension that's actually
no,
between
no.
us.
Yeah.
So we can't do that.
Yeah.
At the same time, so we need to have a united front. In what we're saying, but there is a principle here that I think is very important. You are always the one that delivers bad news to your family, never your spouse.
Okay.
Never
I
your
like that.
spouse.
I like
Because let's face it, your parents are also your spouse's in-laws. And that's a newer relationship that does not have the history, does not have the blood that's behind it. So we want to nourish that to the best of our ability. Now, there are these rare exceptions. Let's say there's an abusive relationship where now an adult child is trying to reconnect to the best of their ability with these parents. All right, that's a frayed relationship. Here, the spouse might come in and be the middle person to protect and to guard. But that's an unusual scenario. In typical situations, I have to be the one to deliver bad news to my mom and dad. Jenny has to be the one to deliver bad news. It's just my job to come along within Jenny's family and to have this relationship with her mom of, man, do you know how lucky I am for the daughter you raised and the relationship I get? And thank you for what you've done and what a privilege this family is and how beautiful this is. Hey, Jenny has something to tell you before I leave. But no, but it really is. It can't be on me for that.
Yeah.
Now, we're 25 years in. Yeah. It's a different scenario for me and Jenny at this point. I think she could have difficult conversations with my mom or my dad, but she doesn't have to. Why? I'm going to have those.
Right.
Because I want to nourish that relationship, because I want my parents and my wife to have the best relationship they possibly can. So as I'm nourishing that, I'm then am going to be the bad guy whenever
It's like
I
a
need
bit
to
of
be
a
the bad
shield
guy.
for your spouse.
Yeah,
No, absolutely.
I like that. And then the other, like when you talked about the couple, the spouse is getting together and strengthening their connection by writing out the common things that they love about Christmas season. I'm thinking about relationships now, where it's like, if there's tensions in a family dynamic of any kind, can they not just sit together and say, what do we, if let's say we've gotten to a point where the tension is high, everyone knows the tension is high, but they're saying, I want the best for both of us. Can we also just say as a relationship?
It depends on
or-
the family. Depends
Okay,
on how good
okay.
the family is. I think a generally healthy family is experiencing a little bit of tension. Yes, they can do that. Then there are other scenarios.
Or I guess my question is that not even a part of a marriage? Like their opinion of the expectations of Christmas it's still a family, but it's not our family. It's the family there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how much do you bring into your marriage?
Yeah, I mean, different families will navigate that in
okay,
different ways. I have sat with. I'm not offering this service by any means, but I have sat with families
Yeah.
to help them navigate
Okay.
some of the scenarios that are going on and to bring out some of these tensions that are taking place. So that's not unusual. If it gets to a certain place, to get some counseling in a family system is actually can be a very useful process.
Interesting.
Because what happens is then you can get a third party that does begin to validate some of the tension that's going on and to help a family navigate kind of what goes forward. But what needs to happen here, if they would get back into controlling what's mine,
Yes.
and influencing what's theirs, and accepting what's God's, then what happens is they can care for mom's feelings. Without now trying to carry them on their own,
I
or
love
to navigate them. They can honor their parents without now having to obey them because they're no longer children. They live in a different spot. So they can leave and honor at the exact same time. And ultimately what they can do is everybody can learn to love each other better, right? And so let's go back to the letter as it came to us. What are some basic principles? We've kind of laid them out now, but what will this look like? If they solve this, what will this look like? What it basically means is we can't write a prescription of you spend this many hours at his house, this many hours at her house. It's not about that. Here's the question. What would leave both of you feeling connected first and foremost with each other, and then with your families and your extended families as well? What would need to take place for that to happen? Now let's look at a scenario in which we try to accomplish all of those goals to the best of our abilities, instead of it being a competition of either you get to connect with yours or I get to connect with mine, because there's no way we can do this whole thing. You actually can. Jenny and I feel this. Look, we'll go back to Arkansas. Just got back for Thanksgiving, and whenever we're there is this tension of I feel guilty wherever I'm not, because I want her to be around her family. That's so important. I want to be around mine, but then mine, you have my mom and that side, you have my dad and that side. So now you have three that are playing in. We're only back for a week. As a family, we're only back together for a week. What do? We do the absolute best that we can. And we negotiate that out. Jenny and I negotiate that out, primarily us. We involve the kids in it as well. We do the best plan that we can take care of. And then thankfully, we have very understanding families of how that's actually supposed to work. And we end up with this meaningful experience that's imperfect in every way. But I think it's the best that we can experience at this moment.
And what if you leave and you know that someone's like not quite happy? Can you walk away being like, I did the best I could, and that's...
You can't carry their feelings.
I guess, yeah.
You can acknowledge them, but you can't carry them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish we could spend more time together. I get it. This isn't the best or ideal or whatever, but I'm glad we got to spend some time together, because this is all we can do right now. And look forward to the next time.
And you can always come see us.
Within
reason. As long as there's a start time and an exit time, we've navigated that properly.
That's right.
Yeah. And hey, Blaine, you know what would happen?
Yeah.
Do you know if we would actually begin to navigate the holidays better?
We get more gifts.
What that would happen?
Oh,
it would actually
it's not.
begin to
Change
the odds. We'll see you next time.